Almost all. I know that there are shockingly bad teachers. So I'm not talking about them because I think they're quite a small minority. I'm talking about the majority of teachers, some of whom are outstanding and inspirational, and some of whom are just ordinary good. Most of us have been taught by teachers who are just ordinarily good. They've got a moderate amount of control in the classroom. They know their subject moderately well. A few kids like them because they're so ordinary, and they plod along. I want to suggest to you that that is a group of men and women doing a difficult and demanding job to the best of their ability. Their ability might not be very large, that's not the point. They started off probably quite starry-eyed about teaching and young people and adolescents and yada yada.
So they run into Australians.
They've become disillusioned. Why?
Enough to drive
right,
anybody mad,
here's some factors. I'm not going to talk about politicians. I'm going to talk about how parents respond to their children when their children say around the dinner table or on the sporting field, whatever, bad-mouth teachers. I think this should happen. Kid comes home and he says, gee, I hate Mr. Smith. He bloody punished me again. He gave me another detention. The parents should go, hey, don't you dare talk about Mr. Smith like that. Don't you dare complain because he's punished you. You must have done something. I didn't really, I was talking, but everybody was talking. If you're a parent, you've heard that a million times. The parent should say, don't you bloody be rude to that teacher. If he's talking in the classroom, you listen. If somebody in the classroom is asking the teacher a question, I hope it's you sometimes, son or daughter, then you listen, you learn. I've got an example of how a politician actually did the opposite to that. Do you remember Julia Gillard saying when NAPLAN was being set up and first results were coming in, the first time it was done, and Julia Gillard had the absolute gall, the absolute hide to say, if you're not happy with what's happening at your school and your child's results, go up to the school and rouse on the teacher. Tell him he's got to do better. Tell her she's got to do better. What a hide! What a hide! Coming especially from one of our worst Prime Ministers ever. You don't go up to the school and say to the teacher, I want better results for my child. You say, I'm disappointed in that. What's he like in class? What's little Jenny? Does she do her homework? We don't see her doing any homework at home. In other words, what I'm saying is back the teacher up. And on the other side of that coin, I wish, have you been reading about Wagga Wagga High? That's a school which is discipline has fallen apart and teachers are openly jostled in the corridor by kids. They're punched by kids, their cars are wrecked, there's language all the time. Why can't it be that teachers are regarded in the same way as doctors and nurses? You see lots of doctor surgeries and emergency wards saying we will not tolerate any aggression, any untoward behaviour from people here. You will be removed. Why can't schools be like that? Why can't a teacher who's spat on by a kid, why can't a teacher who is told to get stuffed, and worse, why can't a teacher who can't do his job say to the headmaster, headmistress, I've got a problem here, right, we'll do something about that, Sonny, here. No second chance. You know that was rude, you know that was aggressive, you know that was the wrong thing to do, and I'm going to get you removed to another school. You will stay in this, you have the organisation of how you do that will take a lot of time, but meanwhile the kid is removed from class. Got a last story to tell you. It's pretty obvious that I've been a teacher and no kid ever hit me and no kid ever swore at me, and that's not true actually, but I removed him from the room forever. The point is, good teacher though I may be, this is an interesting story. I was working once, a few years ago after I retired, I was working at Bicentennial Park, taking kids around all the sort of like ecosystems that are there. It's a proper job, it was a paid job. Now, a lady who I was working with had also been a teacher and told me this great story. Everyone should hang their heads in shame at the result of this. She said she was a chemistry teacher and she turned up at this school, first lesson, new teacher, and she had a Year 11 chemistry class, and she went into the room, and how can I put this delicately? The school was in Lakemba, okay? Got the picture? Right, a group of dudes rocked up to her and said, okay, here's how it's going to be. They said, we're not interested in being in this class, but we have to be for all sorts of reasons, like you've got to do something, you know, when you're at school. We're going to be up the back playing cards. We won't be noisy. We won't disrupt your lesson. All the suck-ups that are here to learn, you can teach them up the front, but not us, not us. Got it? And this woman said, well, no, I haven't actually. I'm going to do something about this. You can't. That's just outrageous. She went and saw her head of department. He was no help at all. He said, lady, they are not going to disrupt your work. They're just going to sit there and play cards up the back of the room. Be thankful. Be thankful. She went to the principal and said, this cannot be. It's our job to teach these kids. So would you help me? And he said, can't do it. Be thankful they're not going to disrupt the class. She resigned that day, right out of there. Isn't that sad that there was no support? So what I'm saying to you by rant this afternoon is teachers are people that deserve everybody's support. If you're a parent, make sure your kids treat parents, their teachers with respect. If you're a teacher yourself, stand on your hind legs and don't accept shit. Right. Questions, perhaps? Questions?
Yes.
Oh, right. 1, 2. That's so teachery, isn't it? 1, 2. Yes?
The classes represented by teachers are completely different to the classes represented by the majority of students. One are middle class people who have
so there are no working class teachers? That's wrong. That's wrong. Yeah. Michael, you're a nice person, you're a thinking person, but that's not right. Okay. Question 2. Yes.
Yes, I think a lot of public schools, there's too many children, or what you like, in the classroom, where it becomes the teacher just can't handle the numbers. Where if you go to a private school, they're more realistic about what you can actually.
This is not a private school, public school thing. I got to tell you, there are some private schools that I've known what happens in them, and they are hotbeds of rudeness, aggressiveness, physical aggression, verbal aggression. People who think private schools great, public schools haven't got a clue.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe they're a holiday camp for wealthy children.
And if you think private schools only have wealthy children, you don't know what you're talking about either. A huge amount of students that go to the Catholic systemic schools are poor people.